Hey all, back for part two. I want to dig a little more into this employer versus non-employer business data because I think it's really interesting and you could learn something from it. So if we go back, 31.7 million businesses in the US, of which a little over 80%, 25.7 million, have zero employees. So again, those are businesses that are often sole proprietors, so just one person doing whatever it is, selling herbs, graphic design, you've got your business. LLCs, partnerships, small S Corps, C Corps, any business that doesn't run payroll, but is still filing taxes as like a revenue producing entity. All right. If we look at all businesses, about 25% are minority owned. And we have to remember when the SBA and the census are talking about minority, they are talking about Asian Indian, Asian Pacific, Hispanic, African American, and Native American. Those are their categories. For example, they don't include all of the Arab and MENA population, which, if you just filled out your census, you might have observed is categorized in with Caucasian. So, as always, with data, look what's inside it to really understand. But with the data that we have, about 25% of businesses are categorized as ethnic minority owned. For reference, in the US, about 32% of our population is categorized as ethnic minority. So there's a bit of a discrepancy there, right? About a third less than you might expect to see. When you look over to these non-employee businesses, as of 2017, again, when all our data is from, you see a little bit higher. You see about 27.5%, so another 10% increase in minority-owned businesses that are zero employee, so just like sole proprietors, little like LLCs, one person or small partnerships, businesses that don't run payroll. The majority, 80% of all businesses in the US don't run payroll. Make money in other ways, whether it is just writing yourself a check, taking a disbursement or withdrawal, whatever it might be. So that means when it was time to get payroll data together, 80% of businesses had a tough time with it, including a slightly larger percentage of minority-owned businesses as compared to businesses overall. Because when that 80% of businesses went to try to answer the question, show us your payroll paperwork, they didn't have anything because that's not how they pay the people who make money on them. So that's happening in there. Other things that I think are probably worth knowing. This business financing question is one that I think we're going to come back to, not just you and me, but like as a country and as anyone who cares about small businesses and wants to see them funded, we are going to have to ask the question, why might a business have or not have like a bank relationship, or more particularly a business loan relationship in existence, which is really just kind of like a dorky way of saying like, so like why would you or wouldn't you like use debt, e.g. somebody else's money, to finance your business instead of your own money, which is what 57% of businesses do. They start with their own or family's money to start up, and then expand that sometimes to friends and family, but then also use that same amount or that same funding source, somebody's savings, for expansion as well. We see that funding source, money that I save myself, is even larger for these zero employee businesses. Because, imagine it, think it through. Who are the zero employee businesses? It's a lot of folks who, again, start a service, start a a type of business that doesn't require a lot of capital to start with. Right, again, we're thinking graphic design, I'm thinking marketing, I'm thinking coaching, I'm thinking therapy, I'm thinking a lot of things that don't have a huge capital outlay to start, education aside, which is not what they're looking at in these numbers. But I'm also really interested to try to think through some of the questions of who else or why else do people have or not have debt or use debt for businesses, right? Again, I think back to people who are Muslim, for whom like debt is not an acceptable, leveraging debt is not an acceptable way to make money. I think about, people for whom culturally debt just is unacceptable, right? I think there's like certainly some libertarian, people for whom like it's a point of pride not to have any debt, which I think is like really kind of, there's some like Protestant bootstrappiness in there. But I also think about people for whom debt is kind of not an option, in the sense if you're starting your own business and you don't have a lot of money to start with, or you don't have a great credit score because you don't have a lot of money, because you haven't had your own business, because you just haven't gotten a chance to start yet. You could get stuck in a cycle where it could be very difficult to access any kind of debt, in credit cards or a business loan. I also think we go back to the last video, if only 1 in 14 on average companies, business entities use debt, it's not that common. 1 in 22 women and 1 in 28 minority owned businesses use debt. So you're probably not, if you think about like your 5 biz besties, or just like the local businesses in your chamber of commerce, or that you are hanging out with and talking to, it's a lot less likely that you're talking to other business owners who use debt to fund or run their businesses, just based on probability. If we're talking about like 1 in 4, or less on average. So it's interesting to me that the solution, right, this Paycheck Protection Program solution, was a loan-based solution, loans being actually not that common of a way that businesses receive money. Loans being something that, depending on who you are, you could perceive as anything from not for me to impossible to culturally something that you just like don't do, all the way to, yeah, just like a business norm. I'm gonna like, leverage somebody else's capital and then just like, put the cost of capital in my like budget and plan for it, right? Not most business owners don't come at it with that kind of like MBA mindset. One question that I have as I'm thinking through what the outcome of all of this is going to be for businesses that survive, and there will be many, many, many. We are resilient. Business owners are so resilient. Is there going to be a sea change in how people think about using debt, using capital, using leverage in business? Like, is this going to unlock the possibility? Are the cheap rates that are available for business owners with these Main Street loans, and like if you get a PPP or EIDL loan, going to open up capital opportunity that business owners just didn't even try for before? 1 in 14 or less business owners use debt for their business. There's a lot more to say on that, but this video is long enough already. I've percolated on this. I'm going to percolate some more, and then we'll come back with more data later.